God is going to test you, and he's going to see if you really are the man you say you are. It's easy to say you're a tough guy, then God's going to put you in a position where you get a chance to prove you're a tough guy. I didn't miss a single day's training. I did not miss a single day's push-ups in that cell. I wasn't too depressed to train. I wasn't too sad to train, too anxious to train, too frustrated to train. I trained endlessly every single day. And it's interesting you talk about movies because it's true. Every single hero in every single movie goes through adversity. There's never been a hero movie where all he does is win. No, to be a hero, you have to suffer. And this can be extrapolated out, not just about my life, but about all men out there. If you're suffering in some degree, even if you're a normal guy with a normal job and you're suffering at your job, or you're heartbroken because your girl left you, or whatever, if you're suffering, that's part of your hero's journey. There is no hero's journey without suffering. If you have an easy life the whole way through, you never get to be a hero. That's the whole point of being a man, is that you're supposed to suffer. You're supposed to eat pain for breakfast. You're supposed to come and grow into a better version of yourself. That's exactly what life's supposed to be about as a man. And another thing I want to say, when you mentioned that movie that popped to my head, I find it amazing that men will sit and watch movies about prisoners of war in Japan, or watch movies about men who go to war and risk their lives, or watch all these hero movies, and they have admiration for the hero, and they believe themselves to be some version of a hero, and then they're too afraid to say no to putting on a mask. If you're not going to say no to putting on a mask, don't watch hero movies anymore, because you're certainly not a hero. You are one of the villains. You're not even one of the important villains. You're not even one of the villains with a name. You're the stupid little henchmen who get beaten up. Those guys who are on screen for a flash of a second and die without consequence. Nobody even cares or mentions them again. Their family don't even get to give them a funeral. They're nobodies. You're a nobody villain. You're not even an important one. The important villains, we know their names. You're a number. You're not a name. If you're going to watch superhero movies, don't put a mask on your fucking face. And if you want to be a superhero in life, you need to understand that for 80% of the movie, you're going to suffer. For 80% of the movie, you're going to lose. Watch any superhero movie. For 80% of the movie, it is nothing but pain and frustration and difficulty. And when your life is that way, you have a chance to grow into something fantastic, and you should thank God for every difficult thing he puts in your path. Yeah, so I knew the guards were watching me, and I'm stubborn, and I believe that every time I did push-ups and they saw me doing them, I believed in my heart it annoyed them. And I am a very stubborn man, because they wanted me to be sad and broken. But every time they saw me, I was sweating and training. And every single time they'd check, they saw nothing but a lion who refused to stop doing push-ups. And they didn't want to do push-ups. They were too lazy. They're sitting around. They're the guards. They're not doing anything. And every single time they checked me for weeks and weeks and weeks, all I did was train. And I found the motivation to do it by knowing that it bothered them that I refused to quit. I'm stubborn like that. I don't even know if it's true. All I know is that I can adopt a mental model which makes me as competitive as possible, and I decided my push-ups bothered them, and they were the ones who were keeping me locked in a room, so I will do push-ups at them. I didn't do push-ups for me. I did push-ups at them endlessly. If I was awake, I was doing push-ups, or I was resting, preparing for my next set at them. It was my only weapon of defiance. A man is unfairly imprisoned in a Romanian jail cell and trained so hard he emerges stronger than ever before. That is a movie. You get to live a movie as a man if all you had was some balls. Even you, think about your movie. You're literally saving the world, predicting the future. Our movies, I'm the most Googled man alive. We are living movie scripts. Why? Because we have bravery. Most men sit there and wonder why they're depressed, because you don't get to live a movie. You're not the main character of anything. You're not even a secondary character in anyone else's movie. You're an unimportant nobody because you were afraid your entire life. You've lived like a coward your whole life. You were afraid of what might happen if you have some balls. And then you wonder why you're depressed. I'd be depressed if I was you. Of course, your life sucks. I'd rather go to jail as me than live free as you. Because when you're free, you can't even do anything. You can't go where you want, you're broke. You can't have sex, girls don't want you. You can't speak because no one listens. So what are you free to do? You're more in jail than I ever was. When I was in jail, I was getting thousands of love letters from beautiful women around the world. Every single tweet I put out was watched by millions of people. I wasn't in jail. Dude, you're more in jail than I ever was. When I was in jail, I was getting thousands of love letters from beautiful women around the world. Every single tweet I put out was watched by millions of people. I wasn't in jail. 50 to 100 million people, exactly. Most of these people who have lived with cowardice in an attempt to preserve their freedom aren't even free. And that's what they don't understand. They're enslaved worse than I ever have been or ever will be. My mind is free. I'm allowed to think what I want to think and say what I want to say. They have thoughts and they go, don't know if I should say that. They second guess themselves. They're their own worst enemy. Every single part of me is on my team. I have enemies who want me dead. Fine. But every single part of me, my mind, my hands, my legs, every single part of me is on my team. My body doesn't second guess itself. My mind doesn't turn on itself. We don't break and self-sabotage. There's no civil wars inside of Andrew Tate. All of us against you. All of us. Well, absolutely it's backfiring, because that's the worst thing you do to a teenage boy, say, don't watch this man. And the thing that they don't understand, because these people are so disconnected from reality, all of these people are genuinely disconnected. They don't understand that my message makes people feel better. I teach men to be strong. I teach men how to make money. I teach men how to be confident, how to be motivated, how to be disciplined, how to be diligent, how to be hardworking. If a man adopts these qualities and applies them to his life will get better. This isn't a matter of just consuming content on the internet. This is a matter of people's lives genuinely changing their day-to-day reality. If that happens, if somebody's day-to-day reality changes because they're a fan of me and they listen to my content, who do you think you are to come along and tell them to stop and go back to misery? It's never going to work. It's never going to work. And the reason I'm so heavily demonized is not because the things I say, it's because I am so massively influential. And when I'm teaching these young men, these young boys, to have any degree of standard for themselves, any degree of parameter for what they will accept inside of their minds, they see that as a threat to the slave programming. If a man stands up for himself and has self-respect, he doesn't want to wear a mask because he respects himself. He doesn't want to take antidepressants. He respects himself. He doesn't want to eat the bugs. He respects himself. They don't want men to have self-respect. We're not allowed to have self-respect. We have to sit there and be completely empty vessels waiting for the slave programming to be plugged in, so we'll comply. That's all they want, is compliance. And that's why me, as a man who stands up and says, listen, you should become as strong as possible, you should believe in yourself, you should be motivated, and you should also try to make as much money as possible, because money is a very important weapon in the fight against slavery. I am seen as public enemy number one for genuinely improving people's lives. That's how evil these people are.
I am motivated by the lack. I'm motivated by the dark and the yin and the yang. I'm not motivated by the light. When I buy a brand new $6 million car, I'm not motivated to work harder because I have a $6 million car. I'm motivated to work harder because I would hate not being able to buy a $6 million car. And I feel like perhaps my whole life I've been motivated the dark. I think it is, but I think it's just an attachment to the dark. I think the masculine essence is. Even when I was a professional fighter, I wanted to win. But the primary reason I wanted to win is so that I could make him lose. It wasn't about me winning. It was about him losing. He spent 8 weeks calling out my name and telling the world he's going to beat me, and telling his wife, don't worry, wife, it's going to be okay. I'm going to win. I'm going to pay for the kids. Don't worry. I love you. I'm training so hard. And he's told the whole world he's going to beat me. So by forcing him to lose in front of his family, that gave me satisfaction more than winning itself. I've always been attached to the dark of the world. I feel like the dark of the world has always motivated me. So on the yin and the yang scale, I have a lot of light and I have so much beauty and I have a very blessed life. But it is because I've been so deeply in the dark and understand the realities of how the world works. But that's just always been what motivated me. If I want to, once again, put it down to something asinine like buying a car, if I want to buy a Koenigsegg, I don't care about driving the car. I just want other people to not be able to have it.
What's made me the most money is the War Room. The War Room is a private members organization that I run. So when I first got, this is interesting, when I got extremely wealthy, I wanted to know where, I kind of felt like I'd gone to outer space expecting to see aliens, and I got there and there were none.
No idea.
I was like, where is everybody? Okay, I'm rich, but I expected once I became rich to meet other men who were rich, focused, intelligent, had their dating lives in order, their physical health in order, their finances in order, their connections in order. And I got to the top of the mountain and I looked around and realized nobody had it. Like, yeah, this guy's rich, but he's cucked by his wife and he's fat. This guy's rich, but he's controlled by the Matrix. This guy's rich, but he's dummy. He just made a bunch of money making music, rap. He's an idiot. This guy's rich. Like, there was nobody who had it all. I was like, and I wanted a network of genuine predators. I wanted the Freemasons almost. I thought, I didn't want to join their organizations, but I wanted people like you. I wanted people like me. So I started an organization to find those men. If you spend all of your time sitting around people who talk about how to become powerful and influential and rich, guess what you're going to end up being? Powerful, influential, and rich. So now I have the greatest network on the face of the planet. And when I say it's maybe the most money, it's not because of the membership fee. The membership fee is very low. It's cheap. It's because of the opportunities and connections inside of the war room. And that's why I am ultra competitive, and that's why nobody will ever beat me. If you're an individual and you wake up and think, I want to make my life better, and you spend 8 hours reading a book, that's fine. When I wake up to maybe 25 messages from some of the most influential and rich people on the planet that you've never heard of, telling me, buy this now. This is an opportunity to make money on the Russian ruble. This is an opportunity to make money here. This is an opportunity to make money on this land. This is what's going down in Iraq. Here we have an opportunity in Nairobi. And I'm sitting there going, okay, and I have got all this curated information and genuine opportunities in real time presented to me. And within 15 minutes, I've made a $5 million investment. Yeah. You're on page 1. You're still reading your book.
The introduction.
You're still reading. Yeah, you're still reading the introduction. And this is why, against people like me and my network and the other people inside the war room, you will always lose. Yeah. So the war room's maybe the most money, but not because of membership fees or anything like that, because of the genuine connections and opportunities inside the war room. And we're just free minds. Anybody who listens to what I say and agrees with it and likes it should understand that you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
100%.
And if you know that, then you need to make sure you're not spending time with anybody you don't want to be. And if you learn and absorb and you're in the right place, then you can do fantastically well. So the war room, with the war room network now, dude, I could never be broke ever again. I think the world would be a terrible place if everyone had a free mind. You do need the slave minds.
I've heard you say that.
As annoying as they are, you do need the slave minds. You do need the guy who believes that, working the gas station is important and he's good at it. You need him. It's good. You need these people.
But what if that guy just doesn't know any better, though?
It's good.
Or he's
what we're talking about. Good, fine. The world can't all be, mansions on the Palm and Dubai. They can't all be that. So, successful is all about self-definition, which is what I was saying at the beginning. You have to decide who you want to be. And if you wanted to be Joe Schmo and you pull it off, then you'll be a pretty happy, content person. It decides who you want to be. I think the people who are miserable, it's the gap between their expectations and their reality. That's where the misery lies. Yeah. My expectations were always enormously high. Even when I was a nobody, I knew I had to be filthy rich and a kickboxer, and I knew I had to be the kind of guy that people gave
Were you happy at that point?
I know, but I knew I'm basic things. At the age of 15, I knew that if I'm the kind of guy that if I raise my voice, people are going to care. I'm not going to be the guy who starts shouting and everyone thinks it's funny. I know I'm going to be the kind of guy who is genuinely a formidable opponent in all realms of human endeavor. I know I'm going to have money. I know I'm not going to take shit.
Where did that come from, though?
I understand what you're saying, because my whole life I felt like there's always more. I know that there's more.
But I think a lot of people have that.
Of course. But the people who are miserable are the people who don't try hard enough to obtain it, because I actually believe, and this is another thing I'll say, I believe the universe is very giving. I think the universe and God himself is very giving. I've yet to meet somebody in all my years who is genuinely giving 100% of themselves day after day, doesn't snake anyone, firm handshake, will look you in the eye, doesn't lie to nobody, and tries 100% who doesn't get what they want. I've never seen it. Every single person who doesn't have what they want, there's something in their story that doesn't quite add up. I've yet to see some guy have you ever seen a guy who eats right, who trains his ass off, and never misses a gym session, ever not grow? Ever.
No, never.
Not
ever.
what? Not what?
Grow.
Not make
ever. It's just, that's the way the universe works, right? So if you're truly about it and you're truly trying your absolute best, you're going to do it. And that's what I believe. I believe the universe is extremely giving. So when I meet somebody and they go, I really wanted this and I don't have it, I say, you didn't really want it. You're a liar. I don't understand, or I don't fathom the concept of fun. I don't wake up and think, what can I do for fun? I don't wake up and think, what is fun? I want fun. That never crosses my mind. I wake up and think, I have things to do. And if I don't have things to do, I'll find things to do. You can always do more work. There's no such thing as no work to do. After this podcast is done, you can release it and you can make X amounts of clips. That's going to be done. And then you could watch it back and you could analyze every word you've ever said and you could find a way to say it differently. You could look at a dictionary and find new words and you can learn them and you can memorize them all. Then you could sit down and you could rehearse it and use those words and sentences to make sure you pronounce them correctly and you don't make any mistakes. Then you could always do more work from the same thing. The work is never ending. The money is never ending.
So you have to find joy in your work.
You have to find purpose, at least. I don't know if I even find joy in my work because I'm stressed and annoyed. I'm furious all the time. What do you mean we've made $1.3 million today? It's a joke. Flip the computer. But it's you have to conquer the earth.
And that's another thing about opportunities, right? Because you have to be positioned to take advantage of opportunities. Yeah. It's like in chess, they say good moves come from good positions. It's true. You can't find a good move from a terrible position, right? If you're sitting at home with no money, it's hard to invest in Bitcoin at $1. It doesn't matter what it goes to, right? You got to be in a good position to take advantage of things. So you've always got to be in a position where you have a good network, you have good information, you have some kind of liquid money, you have the ability to survive without that money, you can take a risk.
Like, it's hard to set yourself up. I'm in a position now where I'm in the NBA. I'm an NBA player. I can never go broke again. So it doesn't matter, right? But once you're in the NBA, I can throw $1 million at something. It doesn't matter if it works or not. So for me, it doesn't make a difference. And that's why it's so much easier. They always say the first million is the hardest, and they're completely right. Once you get to a certain point, you can gamble to a degree.
Yeah. I don't want to sound, airy-fairy, but I truthfully believe the universe is a giving place, and that if you actually really want something, you can have it. How much you want is how much you're prepared to sacrifice. So if you want $500,000 a year, you can definitely make that. And that level of stress you'll absorb for that money and the amount of headache you'll go through, if that's the amount you're prepared to accept for a happy life, you'll have it.
Do you think anyone can do that, though?
I think that you have to pre-decide, right? So even my level of wealth comes with enormous stress. Governments are after me. Like most people are not mentally prepared for the bullshit I go through. So the number one factor that's going to decide how successful you are as a person is your ability to absorb stress, your stress level. The better you are at dealing with stress, the more problems you can fix, the more money you're going to make. What I'm doing now at my stage of my life is buying power. So I thought I wanted to be rich. I didn't want to be rich. I wanted to be free. You're only free with power. And in the American political system is a perfect example of lobbyists and lobbying. Yeah. They will lobby for things. They'll come along and say, I'll give you an example. Why are there no high-speed trains in America? America's huge and rich. High-speed trains would be fantastic for America, but the rail network is basically non-existent. The reason is because the oil companies lobby both political parties to make sure that they don't build trains. Everyone drives. Long highways, it's good. Sells a lot of gasoline. That's what they want. So once you get to a certain level of money, you realize you want political friends. So you're like, okay, I want this law, or I want this law to work this way. Or I just want someone I can call if this happens to me. And you just start giving a lot of money away, effectively. And you're trying to buy power, and that's the way it's always worked. That's what these huge corporations and companies.
Well, the thing is with reading a book is it's a reward without any risk. And this is why I think a lot of people are proponents of reading, and they say reading, because nothing can really go wrong besides wasting your time in life, of course, but they don't believe that. I am a much larger proponent of larger risks and larger rewards. If you want to learn about self-help, if you want to understand yourself and see what kind of man you really are, and learn how to fight through adversity, and learn how to get up when life's difficult, and learn how to control your mind, and learn how to struggle, then you can go to the boxing gym and you can get your ass kicked. You do not need to read any books. You need to get in the gym, walk in there and say, I'm going to fight the best fighter here every single day, and not quit until you can eventually beat him. But most people are not man enough for that. So instead they'll read a self-help book, and they'll sit there and try and talk to me about mindset. I learned my mindset in battle. My mindset is 87 professional fights. My mindset was learned in the reality of the real world. I don't need to read a self-help book. I don't need to read about motivation or confidence. I've been in the cage smashing people's faces in. I don't need to learn any of that stuff. So I learn in reality, and reality is always going to be a better teacher than a book, because you're not learning when you read books. You're regurgitating. You may be reading, but I don't believe you're truly learning. My coach used to say, if it doesn't hurt, you didn't learn. And I think he's completely right. And it's the same with entire life. You see people make the same mistake over and over again until it eventually goes really wrong. And it's only then they'll change. So absolutely. So I learned how to become self-disciplined and become self-motivated and work hard, and I learned how to face adversity and find strength within myself I didn't know I had, because people were trying to kill me inside of a cage, and you cannot replicate that by reading pages of a book. So it's a waste of time. There's a study I read about stress, and it was saying that stress has a placebo effect attached to it, because the placebo effect is extremely powerful. So they found some of the most stressed people in the world, and they split them into two groups, and they're all equally stressed. They all have a bunch of cortisol in their blood. The people who believed that stress was bad for you and that stress can hurt you, and they believed those media articles, were dying earlier. They were having heart attacks and having stress-related illnesses. The people who believed the opposite, who just said stress is part of being successful, I like stress, when I feel stressed I do my best, it makes me anxious, it turns my brain on, I like being stressed, lived longer than average. The point is, the same drug, how you look at it and how your body anticipates it, how you feel about it, affects the real world results. I don't think motivation is a real thing. I don't believe in motivation as a concept. I think discipline is real, and I also think discontentment is real. And I don't think it's possible for anybody to stay in a scenario where they're truly uncomfortable. If you fall asleep on your arm and your arm really starts to hurt, even in the deepest sleep, you're going to wake up and lose your arm. If you sit there and your life has been in a rut for 7 years, you are semi-comfortable in that rut. Sure, there's days you're pissed off. Sure, you're semi-annoyed by it. But there's also days where you just play video games, eat pizza, and you're kind of cool with it, and it's no big deal. If you were truly unhappy and uncomfortable and discontent with your scenario, you wouldn't be in it. So I don't believe there's anybody who's truly... When I was broke, I couldn't sleep. I'm not saying that. Please understand me. When I was broke, I couldn't sleep. I'd be trying to go to bed thinking, how the fuck these people have Ferraris. I want a fucking Ferrari. I couldn't sleep.
If I had to open a coffee shop, if I sit in a coffee shop, right? If I sit in Starbucks, the whole time I'm in there, not only am I thinking about how they got the money from me and how much I spent, I'm thinking about how I could outcompete them. I'd sit there and go, okay, cool. I'm in Starbucks. I spent £5.68. I got a latte and I got a donut, and I'm sitting here. And that business place, that commercial property right across the street is available for lease. How could I outcompete this coffee shop which just took my money? What's the profit margin on this £5.68? How much did this cost them? The coffee, pennies. Donut, 30p maybe, right? How much is the staff? They pay the staff minimum wage £8 an hour. So I've already paid 30 minutes work from that brokey, the wage. She's there for another 30 minutes for free, right? How much is the rent? How much is the business rates? If I had to open up there, how would I attract people to come into my shop as opposed to their shop? They got a big brand name. I'm brand new. Okay, well, the bitch working here is ugly. My one's going to be hot. Boom, that's the beginning. Next thing, do they have any signage outside? No, I'm going to try and put some signage outside. Do they have parking? No, I need parking. But when you just start thinking about how you can convince people to give you their money as opposed to giving it to the places they already give it.
Different analytics.
And once you do that, people say, I can't think of how to make money. If you start doing that for a year and just keep a notepad, you'll have 100 ideas of how to make money. You'll sit there and go, there's a place here that's doing this and we could do it better this way. This place online is doing this, we can do it better this way. And then to get them all done, what do you need? Network. You need people. It's all about people. Then you need to either go in the war room if you want to join, or have your people around you and say, okay, we can make money with this. Who's going to do it? Who's not lazy? Who's getting up at 4 a.m. tomorrow? Boom, let's get it done. So there's unlimited ways to make money, but most people go through life and their money is taken from them and they don't even identify how they got tricked out of it.
They just how did
how did I spend 16 grand in Cirque last night? Oh, because my ass got drunk. How'd they get me drunk? Well, because the guy, when I first bought the first bottle of champagne, was there on the table, pouring, putting it in my hand, got me drunk, then I spent 16 grand on balls. That's how they got my money. So if I open a club, I need to make sure when people first come in, they get fucking hammered. Nobody thinks about it that way. Nobody thinks, how did they get that out of me? Right? Why am I spending $2,000 for dinner in Novikov? Is it the food or is it the fact that I'm in Novikov and tag myself in Novikov? You have to identify how you're getting famoosed, how you're getting finessed. That's how you do it. But most people just walk through life getting finessed left, right, and center, giving all their money up. How did that happen?
You got to learn to finesse other people.
Yeah, but it's not finessing in a negative way.
It's in a good way.
It's a good way. You have to take money from other people. That's the only way you're going to make money. Yeah. You have to take it. There's a pimp, and he said a really intelligent line. He said, business is just other people's money. That's all business is. I want to start a business. So you want other people's money. That's what you want. So how are they going to give it to you? You have to think about it. Nobody thinks about it. And the easiest way to think about it is to think how you're giving yours away. That's a mental model you should adopt. Yeah. And you'll end up with loads of business ideas. Business ideas are everywhere. It's just execution which is difficult. Your ability to speak freely is directly correlated to your insignificance. When nobody listens to you, you can say what you want. If you get a platform and start talking, you will learn very quickly how you're not allowed to say what you want because people are listening. You're free to talk in an empty room. You're not free to talk to millions of people who are paying attention to you. So what we have now in the West is a society which is only linked and only bound by this false idea of freedom. So I'm now at a point where, and my attitude to money, I want to make something clear, is relatively unhealthy. I have no respect for money. There are people who are much smarter with money than me. I don't have any respect for money at all. I don't believe in saving money. And I think a lot of that is down to I'm not advocating people to be like this. It's my life philosophy and the fact that I don't live in any realm of fear at all. I can't imagine myself not being able to make more. I can't ever be poor. And if I wanted something now that took every penny of my net worth, then I would buy it. I'll give you an example. I have an 812 Superfast, a Ferrari. I love it very much. They've released
very nice.
Yep, they've released the 812 Superfast Competition. They've released a competition version. Instead of 400 grand, it's 1.6 million, which is a big difference for a bit of a body kit. And I want one in Europe and I want one in Dubai, so I bought two. So I bought $3.2 million of Ferraris. Should I have done that? Well, yeah, I can. But my point is, I'm happy to just spend money. Don't give a shit, right?
But that's down to my faith in myself. So when you're asking how much of my income is disposable, in my mind, all of it. I don't give a shit. I have a lot of money left because I can't possibly spend it, but I'm happy to spend all my money. What really matters are the systems you build, the robust systems. If you have a robust system that's guaranteed to pay you $50,000 a day, and it always will, and you have faith in it, and you're working hard and you're on top of it, and it's going to pay you at 9 a.m. every morning 50 grand, you could spend 50 grand a day if you wanted to. You know, you may not want to, but you could. So for me, all of my money is disposable.
I don't have a clue how much money I have. When I was broke, I knew exactly how much money I had. I had 117 pound in the NatWest, and that was it. I'm poor, rent's paid, I ain't got nothing else. When I was broke, I knew exactly how much I had. But now I'm at a point where it gets really difficult to truly measure how much money I have, because you have cash, okay, that's easy. I have some crypto, which is constantly fluctuating. And then you have assets, and the price of the assets is constantly fluctuating. And then I have companies and income streams, which need to be valued. And how do you value them, right? They can be an 8 times multiplier in some circumstances, and others, they'll be a 10 times multiplier. So it's really difficult for me to put a value on it. If you were to say to me, how much money do I have in the bank? But then even then, because I've got to be careful what I say on this podcast. But even then, once you have a healthy respect for money, once you get past a certain amount of money, you don't need it in the bank. Like there's no point in me having 50M liquid in the bank. Why? Well, then what am I going to buy? You know, you're like, as long as you have whatever you have in the bank to run around the world with, you have enough. So you try and put that money to use, right? You buy assets, XYZ. So it's really difficult.
Most people don't deserve to be proud of themselves. And that's the truth. A lot of people say, oh, you know, I have confidence issues. And I say, if I was you, I would have confidence issues. Of course. I completely understand why you have confidence issues. You're a dork. But we have to be realistic here. We have to be absolutely and utterly realistic, because the world is brutal and it's harsh. If you're not proud of yourself, you probably don't deserve to be proud of yourself, so you're not going to feel happy. And you just talked about confidence. Confidence comes from competence. The reason I'm confident is because I'm good at everything. Right. I'm good at everything I do. The things I'm not good at, I'm not confident in, of course. And I know what they are. I don't do them very often. I've now created my reality to the point where I don't do anything I'm not good at.
You just hire.
I either hire or I just don't want to do it. Like I don't play darts. I'm not good at darts, right? I do what I'm good at. So yeah, I'm absolutely and utterly confident because I'm absolutely and utterly competent, and that takes practice and discipline and motivation, and you need to fail a few times, you need to get up. And like I said earlier, when I learned my entire mindset in professional fighting and chess, the two combined, that's how it comes down to. And when people say, oh, I have confidence issues, usually I can look them up and down and say, yeah, if I was you, I would completely and utterly struggle with confidence issues. Because the world is competitive, and there's men like me on the planet and friends like mine on the planet, and you're competing against us for money, for girls, for status, for resource, and you're going to be destroyed and decimated the entire time. So of course you have confidence issues when you can be annihilated in real time by the competitor. Why wouldn't you have confidence issues? You'd be psychopathic not to.
I don't even know the story of the 4-minute mile, but when everyone was running, long distance running, everyone said a 4-minute mile was impossible, and everyone was attempting it was impossible. And then one guy did it one day, and after he did it, 10 people did it in like 3 weeks. And it's like the belief. So I think a lot of people when they're canceled go, I'm done. Now, nobody else has I will sit here and openly say my network and the things I do and the unique way I approach it and the war room and the organization I have and the money I have and the influence I have is unique. Most people don't have that. However, people will have the morale to go, I've been canceled, but you know what? I'm not quitting. Doesn't matter. I'm not giving up. All right, just make a new account. Bang, back to work, back to work, back to work. And on a long enough scale, if enough people do that, there will be inertia and momentum behind it, which will make a shift in the universe. It will attack the matrix in real time. It's belief.
I have a question.
It's belief. You must believe.
I believe in you.
You must know, but you must believe.
I
Everyone
fucking
must believe in
believe in you, bro.
themselves. That's the key. Net worth is subjective, like we just discussed. I think it's more about how much and I don't even think it's how much money you have in the bank, because you can tear through any amount of money. It's how much money you're earning.
Okay.
I think a good life costs about $1 million a month.
Wow. That's a big thing.
$1 million a month is a good life. $500,000 a month is doable, and you can still live good. But if you want to really truly live like the best human experience, it costs about $1 million a month.
And is that earned income or income with your assets increasing?
That's income that you have coming into the bank that you can spend.
Okay, that you're taxed on as well. So it's slightly less than that, but
depending where you pay tax.
When I started my business, I was told by my mentor, what you've got to have a good life is $100,000 a month. That was 36 years ago.
Well, it's pretty similar now. Maybe inflation and stuff, but I can give you. It depends on the way you're living, right? Because I told this story before on another podcast, but Dan Bilzerian messaged me and he said, look, let's hang out. I was like, all right, cool. And I was in Bucharest. He was in France. So by the time I only wanted to go see him for a day. So by the time I got the jet, I wanted my security team to come. So I had to get the 4 security team, and they came and also had to pay their wage. And I put the cars on the truck to make sure they were waiting for me there in case we would decide to go for a spin. And then I landed with a security team, and everyone needs hotels. It's 8 people in a 5-star hotel. And then you're on the ground. You have to rent these V classes, armored ones to look after you. And you go, you see Dan, you talk to him for an hour, you have dinner, and then everyone gets back on the jet. By the time I saw Dan in a 48-hour whirlwind, by the time we moved the cars, which I didn't drive, and security came, etc., you spent $400,000. You spent $400,000 to go see your friend.
But it's very difficult for a government to even pretend to give a shit about the average person to me, because I understand how all this works. So the government comes along and decides to give out free money. The average person in the middle or at the bottom goes, wait, free money. Government cares about the poor person. No, they don't. Let's keep it very simple. Let's say they gave every person in the UK £1,000. They're either going to save that money, or they're going to spend that money, or they're going to, let's say, invest that money. If they spend that money, which is what 90% of them would do, it goes to corporations, making the corporations filthy rich. The stock price of Amazon during COVID went to the moon because everyone's sitting at home bored, just buying stuff, right? So there's less corporations than there are people. So let's say you give everyone in the UK £1,000. A lot of that money goes to one guy, Jeff Bezos. The rich get richer, just like before. Let's say they invest it. Well, they can invest it in what? The stock market. Well, that increases the share price of companies. Who owns companies? Rich people. Let's say for somehow 200 of these people are best friends and they're never going to argue, and they get together and they get £200,000 and they buy a house, for example. That's still going to raise the price of housing on that street. The house owners, the homeowners are going to get richer. The people who already own things, the asset owners, are always going to get richer. No matter what you do, the people who are poor are always going to get poorer, and the asset owners are always going to get richer.
Yeah.
And it's running away now to a point where the chance of buying a home on the average salary is near on impossible. I mean, you know some hacks, you know some things about it, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know how people are surviving on this money.
I still very much understood. Any business I'm going to launch from now on out, I need to find a way to get attention. Not in a negative way, not in an attention-seeking way, but that's what advertising is.
Yeah,
how
you
do
need to
I
get yourself out there?
Yeah, how do I get attention in the world today, which is difficult? And then once I get that attention, how do I monetize it?
Yeah.
Because that's the world we now live in. Rihanna, when she launches a makeup brand, no one buys it because of the makeup. They buy it because it's Rihanna. She has attention. She can monetize it any way she chooses. Rihanna can launch a fucking clothing brand, makeup, sofas. Who cares? It's Rihanna.
Yeah.
She's going to sell, right? So that proves that we now live in an economy. We live in a world where the most valuable currency, the most valuable thing that exists is attention. It's extremely difficult to get because people's attention spans are lower than ever.
Yep.
Bro, they're non-existent. Have you ever watched someone on TikTok? Next time someone's on TikTok, watch them. Because I don't have a TikTok account myself, but I see people on it. How long do they give a video to interest them? Maybe a third of a second? They're like,
not interested enough, move on.
Bro, that quick. If you don't get my attention in 0.25 seconds, I'm not interested, right? That's how hard it is now. So, and it's getting harder and harder because the apps and the algorithms are retraining our brains to do that.
Yep.
So now we live in a world where if you can find a way to hack these algorithms and you can find a way to get attention, and there's lots of different ways to do that, then you can find a way to monetize it. And off the back of that, you can become a very, very wealthy individual. Just do it all at once.
I mean, that's what I do. I've had people come into my office and say, are you on a phone call and playing chess and reading a web page at the same time? I'm like, yes. I'll be reading what I need to read and on the phone and at the same time playing chess. Otherwise, my brain's not full.
You need to be stimulated.
Yeah. So, yeah, can I focus on one thing? Not easily. But am I massively successful doing enormous amounts of work? Yes, every single day.
Yeah,
so
that's the most important thing.
It's just staying within the parameters of constructive. If what you're doing with your energy is constructive and you're within those parameters, then you're going to be massively successful anyway.
I am scared about the fact that someday someone's going to say, you know what, this guy's causing too much problems or he has too much influence. Can he just crash his car? Can his jet just crash? Can we just get rid of this guy? Because it fixes a lot of issues. And then you have to sit and say, is my life worth more than the trouble I'm causing to these people? They don't give a shit about me. They don't give a shit about anybody. So you do get to a position where it's scary, and then you have to sit and decide, well, do I want to sell my soul to the devil and cuck? Or do I want to just shut up and disappear, which is also cucking? Or do you want to live for something? And do you want to die as a name as opposed to a number?
people who are still dependent on the system will fight to defend the system. There are people who I will sit there and say to them, look, your university degree is a scam. They lied to you. I will show you how to make money. And their reply will be, no, I went to a good university. They are desperate. No, that degree means something. You work at Greg's, G. Doesn't mean any. Shut up. They won't accept it, right? So certain people are not ready for the truth. People who are ready for the truth seek it and they find it.
Well, also, there's no light without dark, and there's no joy without pain. You can't have a rainbow without a little rain.
Exactly.
And no matter how hard you chase pleasure and happiness, there's going to be dips and troughs in between. There's going to be come downs and downtrends. And you're going to have the juxtaposition between that time you were laughing your head off and acting giddish like a child and the time that you feel depressed as such. And I think it's much better to just adopt a very disciplined, stoic mindset. I'm always the same base level of happy regardless. If I lost all of my money today, I would be the same happy. If my net worth quadrupled, I'd be the same happiness.
Yeah.
As long as I'm alive, which is a struggle, unfortunately, in the current climate. But as long as I'm alive and the people I care about and love are alive, and as long as God gives me the honor of doing my duties and providing for the people I care about, as long as I get to wake up and know that there's a whole bunch of people in the world who need me and I get to work hard to please them and do good for society and good for the world, then I'm a vessel of God and I'm happy enough to survive. That's all I look at it as. I don't ever consider how do I feel. That doesn't cross my mind. I have things to do.
A lot of the time, women get in the way. I've seen it a million times, bro. I've seen women get in the way of partnerships like that so many times. Because women don't like you having a strong masculine network because then you don't need them. They want you to need them. I'll help you. I'll be your partner. No, bro, that's the biggest mistake. Don't even get me started. Biggest mistake you can make as a man is trying to start business with your wife or some shit. That's a headache.
Why is that?
Bro, I don't know who I'm going to offend or upset now, but this is how it goes. Because now you got two different battles. You got the relationship you're trying to be in control of, and I got to deal with the business as well. Now, it's different if you run the business and you hire her, and she does a little bit of admin. Cool, that's fine. But I'm talking about, let's say...
50-50 business model.
Yeah, let's say your chick goes, I want to open a beauty salon. And you pay for her to open a beauty salon. And now this beauty salon, you've put $1 million of your money in it. And it's not open on a Thursday. I'm like, why isn't it open on Thursdays? Oh, I had a headache. What do you mean you had a headache? Bro, I just spent $1 million. Yeah, but Claire's sick and I have a headache. And now you got the relationship, it's all messed up. This bitch is lazy. She thought it'd be like Sex in the City episode where she just drinks lattes and makes money. And she realized she had to actually do shit. You know what I mean? And it's all getting messy there. Whereas when you're with your boys, and let's say you invest $1 million in something, it's not open on Thursday, you can go to the house and say, what the fuck's wrong with you? Don't be a bitch. You're a man. Yeah. You can just say, look, we need to open. You can't do that with chicks. It's hard. So even now, I've got 45 people who work for me and not a single one is a female. Not one.
I've said this story before, but I'll say it again. When I was growing up in Luton in England, which is a highly Islamic town, there's lots of Muslims who live there. I was friends with some Muslim guys in college, and they used to laugh at me all the time. One of them was like 19, worked in Tesco and had a Ferrari. I was like, bro, how do you have a Ferrari when you work in I think he worked in a chicken and chip shop. He worked in like a fast food restaurant and had a Ferrari. I was like, how do you have a Ferrari when you work in a fast food restaurant? He's like, because I got 9 brothers, and we all work together, and we share the car. I was like, okay, well, why do you share the car? He said, no, you don't understand. I won't use the racial slurs, but he was like, you people, is you and your 3 brothers. You all grow up, you all decide to get with your girl, you all go pay different rents, you all disappear, all your money gets spread out now, you're taking your girl on holiday and paying a different rents, and you're all separate. Me and my 9 brothers live in one big house. If we meet a woman, she moves into the house. The men are all focused on making money, the women are all looking after us, cooking, cleaning. You got 9 men in the same house trying to pool their incomes. That's why we own the houses you rent from us. It's different. Brotherhood first. It's different. You people don't think that way. You fall in love. You fall in love with some bitch and you run off to go pay her rent.
Sure.
It's like a different mentality, and that's why they win.
You're never going to be truly happy in your mind if you go against the teachings of God. I don't care how much money you make. If you're a bad person, you're not going to feel happy. I don't care how much money you make. If you snake people or lie to people or do bad to people, you're never going to feel happy true deep in your heart. True in your heart, we're intrinsically designed to do right and do good. And that's something that God gave us. And when you have that, you understand that that's more important than anything else.
Yeah.
I don't think this was actually as deliberate as people understand. 50, 60 years ago, property was fantastic for almost everybody. 1 year's wage, you get a house. That house cost 75 grand. Now it's 450 grand. Fantastic. You did good. Absolutely. It's different now that the house is 450 grand, you're earning 40 grand a year. Now it's a very different scenario. So when your parents or older people say, yeah, do property, it was great back then. Now I don't think it's nearly as competitive as it was. I think that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. I think the poor are getting outpriced of most assets. I think that some of the biggest mistakes poor people can make or middle income people can make is chase assets they can't simply can't fucking afford. And the only way they can do it is to indent themselves to a bank with interest and enslave themselves for X amount of years, destroy their flexibility to try and pull off owning one one property, and owning one ain't going to make you rich anyway. You got to own as many as you do. And what I'm saying is, there's a small percentage of people who benefit from property, just like there's a small percentage of people who benefit from crypto or stocks. How many people lose in the stock market?
Most.
Exactly.
How many people lose in Forex? Nearly all.
All. Correct. So this is the same with every investment. But the reason I'm only attacking property is because property is the one everyone says is safe as houses, good for everybody. No, it is not. Depends on your circumstance. That's my problem with property. In my scenario, your scenario, how can we lose? If I buy a house for $5 million and I'm never, ever, ever going to need that money, I can wait until the day I die to sell it. Then I'm always going to make money. I go, the property prices have crashed to $3 million. Then I don't sell it. Yeah. Who cares? It doesn't matter to me. If I had a mortgage on it, it'd matter. It was my only property, it'd matter. If inflation is 20% and my wage has gone up 1% a year, all this shit matters. Not to me, not to you. We're the 50. But 950 people here need to join the real world and learn how to make money a different way. Because we teach you how to make money with nothing. If you make money with nothing, you can't lose. That's the beauty of it. You can lose if you invest in a house. You can't lose if you don't spend any money. And I'm not going to sit here and say that everybody who's ever bought a house is lost. I only talk about this because the majority of my audience are 18 to 25, 26. They're being told by people much older than them that they buy a house, they'll be financially secure. And I'm telling them that is simply not the case. And also, there's a bunch of intangible disadvantages, like the absolute inflexibility of the house. I don't know in your experiences, but people I know have spent 2-3 years trying to sell a house. 2 years is eternity. Eternity. 2 years ago, we were locked in our houses. 2 years ago is forever. So if you're going to accept that degree of inflexibility, if you're going to accept that degree of obligation, I think for many people that is a mistake. I think there's better ways to make money, and I think that renting is a lot safer for people. Especially now we're living in a world where a lot of money is made online. I have some people who can make money online. If you're making money online, even living in a Western country is stupid. Go to Thailand. Live for a fraction. Be safer. Not get stabbed. Like, even living in the West in general is dumb if you're making money online, and more people are. So my point is nuanced. There's absolutely exceptions to the rule. There's absolutely scenarios in which I'm totally wrong. It's a nuanced point I'm trying to condense, and I'm saying that property used to be the cure-all for everybody. Get a normal job, work in a factory, pay off your house, be good. Yeah. It's not like that anymore.
Pension money is not going to be yours, is it?
Yeah, exactly. It's not like that anymore. And also, what did we say earlier about competitiveness? We said that there are people out there in the world competing with me, and there's people out there in the world competing with you. You're a property shark. You just said it. You're an animal. They're competing with you. Like, you can pay more for it and overpay for it because you know you're going to have whatever. You can buy the houses next door and put shit tenants in them. Like, if you want to fuck somebody, you could. So they're also competing with sharks, and this is the point I'm making. The reason I'm anti-property is because often it's a 24-year-old guy who just got his first good job out of uni. He might be able to, if he eats ramen noodles for the next 15 years, pay off this fucking council terraced house in Liverpool. And I'm like, bro, that is not going to save your life. You're going to be 50 in a shit house. That is dumb. Correct. I think that if you have a lot of wealth, parking your money into assets in general is good. I think that property is a pretty safe asset overall, globally. It does go through some ups and downs, but property performs, it's certainly a fantastic place. I think as a way to generate wealth, there's some people who say it can be done. That's fine. But I think it's very inflexible. I've always preferred flexibility. I think we now live in a world where a lot of money can be made online, a lot of money can be made from a phone, a lot of money can be made from a computer. And also, this all ties back into the very beginning where I said the ultimate bottom line of the world is violence. Well, if they're going to do it to the whole population, I agree. But if they're going to do it to an individual, I disagree. If you don't pay your parking ticket, they'll take your house. Sooner or later. May take a year, may take 2 years. They will take your house. So my question is, do you own it? This is my problem with property. I own my house. Do you? If they can take it off you anytime you annoy them?
No. If you don't pay your mortgage for 3 months, you'll see you own your house.
Yeah, that's right. If you don't pay your taxes, see you own your house. If you don't wear a mask when they tell you to, and you get a fine for not wearing a mask, and you think that's injustice, and you don't pay the fine, and they add money to the fine, then it goes to court, you're supposed to turn up, you don't, they send a bailiff, you tell the bailiff to get fucked, they will take your house. So if you don't wear a mask, they take your house. So do you own it? This is a philosophical question, and you can answer. Do you feel like you own your property? Because I would argue that you don't own shit. I agree with you. For me, it's just a philosophical thing where I think that anything that can be taken off of you, you don't own. So for me, once again, you're in a unique scenario, as am I. But if you're Joe Schmo, owning it is never going to make you rich in any considerable, serious amount of time. 20 years from now, you might get hit by a bus. That's forever. I don't think that long term. All of my plans are 3 to 4 months maximum. And the benefit of renting it versus ownership, well, you can get kicked out either way, and you lose all your flexibility.
what's the point? Now, once you're sitting there going, I have $7 million in the bank, I don't know what to do with it. Sure. That's property. Of course, put together a complicated legal structure and owns property. Absolutely. But I don't think that applies to most people who come to me and say, my mom said I should buy a house. You're a dummy. Your mom did something that doesn't work anymore, and you're still a dummy.
Thing is, sometimes your parents love you so much, they give you bad advice.
Well, they give you the advice that worked for them.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. This worked for them. So absolutely, why would they believe it doesn't work anymore? They're putting money in a savings account and getting interest on the money, like 4 or 5% interest on the money, and then buying a house for 1 year's salary that went up 10x. I'm sure it sounds like a great idea. Imagine it was still that way right now. I'd tell everyone to buy a fucking house. But it isn't. And then you add into the fact that the government's getting more and more tyrannical. You add into the fact that violence is the bottom line. You add into the fact they will take your fucking house off you. What did they do in Canada to the truckers? When the Canadian truckers got tired of it, they went and they protested, and they lost their houses and lost their cars and lost their fucking pets. They euthanized their dogs. A man who worked his entire life driving across Canada in a truck, who was a proud homeowner, found out very fucking quickly that you don't own anything. It's a scam. So for me, especially as somebody in my situation, my precarious situation, which we described at length, somebody who is an enemy of the Matrix, considering that property is the most controlled Matrix asset that exists, considering that if they could take it off me, they fucking would, I need to find assets which are very, very difficult to seize. That's the first, that's the answer, right? One is protecting the fact that you own it. I mean, I don't know about your particular scenario, but in Florida, in America, during California and in Canada, they are piercing LLCs. They're piercing LLCs to see who owns the LLC to seize the property. So once again, the law says if it's owned by a company, that they can't take it, or they can't see who owns the property in the company. Yes, they fucking can. Piss them off.
Yeah.
If you piss them off, they'll throw all the rules out the window. The same reason they're going to kill me. Murder's bad, but they throw the rules out the window when you annoy them. So this is my exact point. So I just personally could never sleep at night knowing, I got 100 million in property, I'm good. Because I'd be like, I don't have anything. I have to be quiet, and I have to be careful. And if they don't like me, they'll get me. That to me doesn't feel like ownership. Ownership is they can't take that off. That's true ownership. So you don't own property. It's a scam. It's a lie. To sit there and go, I'm sad and I don't feel good and I don't feel happy. Like, you just sound me. I'm so important. I should be happy. What about me? How do you be depressed without narcissism? And how do you be depressed without absolute selfishness? Bad things happen to you. Bad things happen to everyone. I'm not saying you don't have a hard life. I'm not saying you shouldn't be sad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying your obsession with how you feel and no obligation or no concern for the people around you or your duties or the things you need to do is why you feel the way you feel. I find it remarkable that some of these famous people kill themselves when they have kids. Yeah. Like, I'm going to say this now. I don't care how much trouble I get in. If you're a man and you have children and you kill yourself, you're a piece of shit. Yeah. You're a piece of shit. Don't care how sad you feel. You're going to abandon your children because you feel sad? Because you got a thought in your head, a feeling in your brain, you're going to abandon your kids and leave them fatherless? You're a piece of shit. Cowardice. You're a coward. And the fact that you will even do that shows the absolute narcissism these people operate under. That they feel like their feelings matter more than the upbringing of the children they birth. It's insane to me. And if you actually have a sense of duty and a sense of purpose beyond yourself, it's very difficult to get depressed. It's very hard for an individual ant or an individual bee to be depressed if the beehive is functioning. I can't be depressed when I'm in a matrix attack and they're trying to destroy my life and they want me to be sad. I can't be, because I have children to pay for and I have a business to run and I have employees to pay and I have things to do. I don't have time for it because I have to think about something other than myself. So I don't think depression, and in fact, we'll go back to the original point I was going to make. Depression, along with Satanism, along with a lot of these ideas, along with even the LGBTQ crap, it's all about how I feel. Yeah. It's not about how does this affect other people. We talked about Mr. Beast earlier. None of these people sit there and go, I feel like changing gender. How will this affect all the children who watch me? How will this affect society? They're so selfish. They only care about themselves. So the Matrix is trying to push selfishness. It doesn't like us to look at the fellow human and see them as something akin to ourselves, because then we're going to be harder to psyop. They only want you to care about you and only you, which is why they push the divisions, right? It's why they push racism on purpose. It's why they push the division, the political parties on purpose. They push the divisions because if we unite and start to sit and say, wait, I care about what happens to other people because of my actions, not just what happens to me, that would be a far different society. So Satanism
I think it's being pushed for the same reasons a lot of things are being pushed. I think if I was in charge of the Matrix and I had to try my very best to control everybody, the first thing I'd want to do is split them up. I'd want everybody to be selfish and self-obsessed and have their little robot at home and their little pod and obsessed with their Apple TV thing on their eyes. Bro, I see that and it scares me. I see people in public with, what are the Apple Vision Pro?
Yeah.
I get scared.
Yeah.
You've seen that, what's it called? Sora. You've seen that?
That's crazy,
bro. And it's still in beta testing. Imagine we're going to be 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And I think, personally, what I try and do is get ahead of these things. So I'm not a geek. I'm not technologically super advanced. I have a lot of people who work for me who are. So even inside the war room or inside the real world, I have people inside of my platforms whose specific job, who I pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to a month. So they're on top of these things. So we can teach it to other people. And I see something like Sora and think, okay, that can make me a lot of money if I'm ahead of the curve. So I need to get my team involved in it. We need to make a whole bunch of money. But if you're the average person at home and you're watching AI continually take over the world and you're not at least learning how to implement it so you can benefit, you're toast. You're toast. Most people are going to be replaced so quickly. I don't think the average person at home realizes how replaceable they are. I'd argue now that 80% of the normies I talk to, ChatGPT would be far more interesting than them. They're that boring. The average person at home, if they were trying to get a girl, would be better off putting ChatGPT in the combo than themselves. That's how bad they are. And they're arrogant and they're narcissistic and they think, no, I'm special. Most of you are not special. You're not. And because you're not special, you're going to be replaced by machines. And once you're replaced by machines, you're going to become useless. And you're still going to have expectations. You're still going to want to eat and you're still going to want a wage and you're still going to want a good house and a nice car. What are the elites going to do with the populace once they become completely useless and remain to be entitled? You're useless eaters. Useless eaters always end up decimated. In any period of human history, in any civilization, if you had a large subsect of the populace that had no purpose, they got decimated. So if you're at home sitting there thinking, well, I can become useless and the government will just feed me, I'd argue they'll starve you to death instead because they don't need you around. And most people are going to be replaced very quickly by these machines. Sora, I said to my camera guys when I saw Sora, I was like, you're out of a job. You're fired. We started laughing about it. But it's true. And think of how fast technology advances. Where are we going to be in 20 years from now?
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
It's insane. You need to get ahead of these things. It can be used for good or bad. Social media can be negative if you sit there and digest bad information, but it's also one of the reasons we managed to get to such large, such a large subsects of the population. So it can be a good thing and a bad thing. Inside the real world, inside my online university, we push AI very heavily. And I was having a conversation with someone the other day who said, oh yeah, I don't use AI because I'm a club promoter. And I said, if you're in any business in the world today, it doesn't matter if you're a plumber, it doesn't matter if you're a club promoter, it doesn't matter what business you're in, you should be learning how to implement AI because it's going to be the people who use AI and the people who fail. Yes. Those are the only two options, which is why we teach it so heavily inside of my university. And I said to the club promoter, what do you do? He said, well, I get guys to book expensive tables at the club because I bring pretty girls to the table. And I said, okay, well, if you had an AI machine, let's say you use Sora to put together a video of the best club night ever. And let's say you use ChatGPT to speak to lots of girls and explain what's going to happen and why they're going to have a great time at the club. And also get ChatGPT to speak to rich men and explain to them what a great time they're going to have. And you could mass speak to people at a much larger rate than you can do by yourself sitting there typing. You're going to make more money. Yeah. You can implement AI in club promotion. You can get the most fancy video and you can get a ChatGPT learning bot to realize exactly, this is actually a point I want to make, to realize exactly what trigger words get the girls to want to party and what trigger words get the guy to want to spend money. And you can put together some data and you can stop talking to people completely and you can focus on the AI learning mechanisms to do all the work for you, which is why we're teaching it inside of my university. There's not a job on earth where you shouldn't be using AI mechanisms to do it for you because that's what they're doing to us already. Yeah. We live in this surveillance capitalism world where a lot of the tech companies, a lot of the largest companies in the world are making money purely based on prediction of our behavior. They build digital versions of us online. They build there's a digital Matt, there's a digital Andrew based on all of our spending habits, how long we spend on each website, which part of the website we click on first, which websites we visit, how long we spend on our email, which email topics make us reply. They're constantly gathering data on us and putting together digital versions of us so they can predict our behavior to make as much money from us as possible. And once they can do that, they then try and alter our behavior so that we become more profitable. And they do this on purpose so that we become a person who's worth $12.59 to be a person who's worth $14.03 by altering how we react to certain things.
So they're already building algorithms and trying to adjust how our mind works. And if you have a company or you are interested in making money in the world today and you're not considering doing exactly that, you're going to permanently fail. The average school isn't teaching about AI. The average MBA you will do won't teach you about AI. I'm going to sit here and make it very clear and obvious. The only school on the planet I can find that will teach you about artificial intelligence is my one, The Real World, and it's $49. For $49, we'll teach you exactly how to use AI to make a whole bunch of money. Which goes back into a point I was saying earlier about certain people are just tied into the matrix and don't want to be freed. If we will sit here and have a long conversation about how artificial intelligence is going to replace most people, and if you don't implement it, you're going to become useless, and your entire bloodline is going to be exterminated because you don't serve any purpose to society. And I'm going to teach you how to use artificial intelligence for $49, and you're still not going to do it, well, then I guess you just deserve eternal slavery for your bloodline. Some people are just born to lose, I assume. But it's extremely important we implement these things. So when I watched Sora, the conversations I've had, it was only 2 days ago. I was on the phone for 6 or 7 hours with my team inside The Real World saying, okay, how can we use this? What can we do with this? And there's two different ways to look at it. There is, how can we use artificial intelligence now when no one else is really using it? How do we get ahead of the curve and continue to make millions of dollars? That's easy. The real question is, how do we use AI when everyone else? Once it becomes mainstream and everyone else can do it, when everyone else can produce adverts at the drop of a hat, when everyone else can make their product look fantastic when it isn't, when everybody else can use ChatGPT to be extremely funny and charming and interesting, when there's neurolinks in their brain and everybody can talk like Andrew Tate. Because right now only Andrew Tate can talk like that. When I lose my ability to speak more concisely and compendiously than everybody else, how do I compete then? That's going to be the hard one. But right now we're in a transitional period where it's easy. Because if you join The Real World or you pay attention or you learn these things, you're so ahead of everyone else. It's like the first person to turn up to the gold mine. And you could just dig and pick up all the gold. But there'll become a time where the gold mine's flooded. And that's where you really have to think ahead. So we had a long conversation about how to make a bunch of money now, and that was easy. But the real question is, how do we all make a bunch of money in 20 years when AI is standardized? That's what's going to be the interesting conversation. The amount of websites which... I mean, copywriting is a thing, right? And it still is a thing. But the amount of websites which could benefit from a complete copy change with ChatGPT would make their copy better than it currently is.
Yeah.
The amount of average electricians that have a little terrible website somewhere in Texas, and you could literally ChatGPT their entire website, and you could charge them money for that, and they don't even realize that you use ChatGPT because they don't have a clue what it is because they're behind the times, and you could literally make money for 10 seconds. Now, if you could get an AI bot to reach out to them all, if you get an AI bot to speak to them all, if you could produce them a movie using Sora, showing the coolest electrician on earth, like there's so much potential that can be done. It's so ridiculously easy to make money if you actually try. But implementing AI is something you need to do because it's the future. It's like ignoring gunpowder. If you ignore gunpowder, you'll lose the war. You could have looked at gunpowder at some point and said, we got bows and arrows, it'll be fine. No, it won't. As it advances, it's going to get to the point where they soon have Gatling guns and you're all toast. And it's exactly the same in the business environment, which is why we're implementing AI. Inside The Real World, we don't just have an AI campus. We implement AI into every other campus. So we have a specific campus on artificial intelligence, and then we implement AI in our copywriting campus and our crypto campus and all of our other campuses. We have 18 of them. But it's super important that it's done. And I'm kind of also, we talk about fraternity. I'm not going to lie. I'm very glad I have such a good network of people because I have certain people who work for me and people around me who know things I don't know. And it's amazing. And I'll tell you another thing that's kind of scary. There are so many kids nowadays that are smart, bro. I have 18, 19-year-olds who work for me doing this AI stuff. And I'm like, bro, I'm a dinosaur now. I'm like, I don't know. I can talk. And you can't talk like me. Yeah. You're socially awkward and weird, and you can't get laid. I can do all that. But you're doing this, bro.
They just figured it out.
Bro, it's crazy. The world's changing so fast. And you need to have a team of people. It's kind of like the chessboard, right? I think one of the problems we have in the West especially, I've noticed, I feel like families in the East are a little bit better. Certainly Islamic families are better. But in the West, everyone wants to be the king on the chessboard. Yeah. But truthfully, to have a good team, you need a king, and you need a bishop, and you need a rook, and you need a knight, and you need pawns, and everyone needs to know their job. And if everyone does their job well, you win the game. Especially the queen. She's another piece on the chessboard, one of the most powerful pieces. If everyone does their job right, then you're fine. But when you have a bunch of people trying to be the king, then it all falls apart. So I think one of the powers of my fraternity especially is that I have my role and people have their roles, and we work together and we forever win. We never lose. 100%. And that's the thing that I find so amazing. When I say these things to people, all I'm doing is describing human nature. If you're born into the bloodline of, let's say you're born into a banking bloodline,
And let's say you're going to all these weird sex parties and you've never worked a day in your life and you live on a yacht and you're just some weirdo banker, right? They're going to believe they're genetically superior to you. Are they? No. Are they physically stronger than an NFL athlete? Fuck no. Are they genetically superior? Are they smarter than the average person? Probably not. But they're going to believe they are because they're born into that lineage. So they're going to believe that they're somehow special and better than you. They're going to believe that they can make you do things that they don't have to do because they're better than you. That's human nature. They're the king on the chessboard and they have a lot of power and they're going to put you in a position of serfdom because they want to do it. The question is, are you going to accept it? That's the final line now. Are you going to accept that position of serfdom, or are you going to sit in there and say, no, I resist. I don't want to do that, and I'm going to get rich and important myself so I can live my own version of reality that I want to exist in. I don't want to exist in your version of reality. You're either a player on someone else's board, or you can try and make a genuine impact. And it's kind of like we were talking about the war earlier and how it's coming for all of us. And every single battle that's ever happened in history, it doesn't matter if it was Waterloo, it doesn't matter if it was one of the battles in ancient Rome or ancient Greece, it doesn't matter if it was Spartans, it doesn't matter what it was. There's a death toll, there's a number, and there's a few notable names. Everybody died.
Yeah.
Everyone died. So when they finally kill us, at least they remember our names, sir.
Yeah.
Well, all these other people at home who are afraid to talk and tell the things that we tell are going to die just the same. But they're going to be one of 13,044 deaths. There's going to be 13,044 deaths. Matt, Andrew. At least we get that bit. And if you're going to die anyway, you may as well grab the last bits you can get. The Matrix says you're misogynistic for trying to protect and provide for women. For me saying, I don't believe a woman can do the things that I can do because I'm born a man and I have capabilities she doesn't have, and vice versa. That makes me a misogynist. I don't believe I can get pregnant. I believe she can. I don't believe she can fight. I believe I can. Why does that make me misogynistic? Why does that make me misogynistic to say that I can protect and provide for my woman better than she could do for herself? How does that make me a misogynist? And every single woman I meet is like, I wish I met a man like you who would protect me and provide for me. I'm like, I know. So where is this misogyny garbage coming from? Well, it's coming from a small vocal minority of psychopathic feminists who truly hate men. The only hate is coming from them. I don't hate women. If I hated women, I wouldn't want to protect and provide for them. If I hated women, I would endorse feminism. If I hated women, I'd say, go get a job, protect yourself, stick up for yourself. If a man breaks into your house, you fight them. We're equal. That's what you do when you hate women. You don't protect and provide for them. The whole thing's a psyop. But I think the misogyny feminism garbage is actually collapsing much faster than a lot of other narratives. It's very hard to find anybody who still believes in that crap. Do you know why feminism's collapsing? I'll tell you. Because the world's getting harder and the good days are over and we're about to enter a period of chaos and war and difficulty, and inflation is here to destroy all of our currencies, and it's getting harder and harder to even make a living or travel anywhere or live a good life. And you often find that as soon as things get difficult, even the feminists want to make you sandwiches. You soon learn that even they are the first ones to say, this whole working thing, this is hard. How about you do all the work and I'll look after the home? Feminists will instantly abandon their ideals as soon as it gets difficult.
And we're there.
So as the world gets more difficult, all the feminists are putting on aprons and begging for me, trying to get to make me a sandwich, and they're all rejected, unfortunately. But it's amazing how the reality of life can destroy these ideals. And as the world gets harder and harder, I mean, let's put it this way. If World War III were to come to America, heaven forbid, all this transgenderism crap will go out the window.
Yeah.
Because now it's time to do something real. And feminism might be the first one to fall. And unfortunately, it's a shame it takes such hardship for the holes in these ideals to be pointed out. But the reason feminism isn't being purported and the reason it can't be sustained anymore and the whole idea of misogyny and all this crap is falling apart is because life is hard. And men are good at doing hard things. Men are better at a hard life than women. The women I know, I don't want them to be good at hard life. I would hate a woman to be as resilient as me. If I met a woman who could go through the things I went through and survive, I'd be very concerned. I wouldn't find it attractive either. I like a woman who would cry when bad things happen to her because I like her emotionality. I like her femininity. But as the world gets more and more difficult, men are better at that. And that's why all the feminists are throwing their ideas out the window. You can notice now, bro, 2020, 2019, feminists were all over social media.
Yeah.
Now it's all these girls saying, I never wanted a job. I never wanted to work. Who tricked me? Well, you tricked yourself by falling for the psyop. And now no man wants to take care of your ass because we've seen your old social media when you're talking about being a boss bitch, traveling the world, fucking partying on boats with your tits out. Now no one wants to look after you. You should have been a feminist. You should have thrown that shit away from the beginning. So yeah, feminism's collapsed, and harsh reality has made it collapse because it's not a sustainable idea because it's not real. And the truth reality is that men and women are different, and we're better at different things, and we work as a team. And when we work as a team and understand our roles, we do better. If you're a tailor and you're an accountant and you want to open a tailor business, well, then the tailor makes the clothes and the accountant does the books. If you reverse the jobs, or if you sit there and say, I can be an accountant as good as you can, and you can make clothes as good as I can, we're the same. And half the clothes are made by the tailor and half the clothes are made by a random accountant. You're going to have a crap business and it's going to fail. You have roles and you work together and you're a perfect team. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows this. But feminism is kind of funny. Feminists were everywhere 3 or 4 years ago. Where have all the feminists gone? This is my question to them. Where have they all gone? Now that inflation's here, now that the world's difficult, why can't I find a feminist to debate with anymore? For a while they were everywhere, and now they're all trying to hide behind a man somewhere and live for free.
Where'd all the boss bitches go?
Oh, they've all gone. It's funny, yeah. Now that everyone's bored of paying for OnlyFans account and crypto ain't going up like it used to be, all these boss bitches have vanished. All the feminists are out the window now that life is difficult, because the whole idea was bullshit from the beginning. Women follow trends. Because women are susceptible to societal trends because they're malleable, because they do not have physical capability to defend themselves. E.g., if a new tribe conquers the current tribe, the women will quickly adapt to the ideals of the new tribe to survive. So when the Nazis conquered France, the French women slept with the Nazis. I mean, for a while they were upset that their husband was killed. I don't know, maybe 3 days. And after that, they're like, cool, I need a man to pay the bills. So they got with the Nazi soldiers. That's how women are. They're selfish, they're self-absorbed, and they just adhere to the power structures and follow the power structures because they can't resist them because they can't fight. So, and I'm not insulting women, this is a fact. If a new, more powerful force takes over, e.g. the Nazis taking over France, they'll adhere to that ideal for survival. Now that feminism's collapsing and traditional masculinity and traditional roles is popular again, they're adhering to this worldview because it allows them to survive. They can't argue feminism anymore because it's failed in real time. They don't have an innate ability to argue against the general consensus of Earth. Again, exceptions don't disprove the rule, but in general, because they don't have physical capability, they know what's cool and what's popular and they love attention. So now they're all tradcon. Do they really mean it? I don't know. Now it's the cool thing to say. When feminism was cool, I said the same things. Now that masculinity is cool, I'm saying the same things. If feminism becomes cool again, I will say the same things. But I'm Andrew Tate. I'm the top G. I fear nobody. Put me in jail. I don't care. By myself, sitting there with the cockroaches, just me and Tristan smoking cigarettes. I'm fearless. Doesn't matter to me. These chicks who are tradcon now, will they flip when the game flips? It's amazing that they're saying these things. It's amazing that we've changed the culture. I believe I was part of that. Trump was part of that. You saying the right thing's part of that. What is cool now wasn't cool 3 years ago. Things are changing. I'm not complaining that they're making this content. I'm glad they are. My question is, how true are their core beliefs? And then you go deeper down the rabbit hole into the semi-misogyny area where people are going to have a panic attack. How true is any woman's core belief when she can't defend the belief? You go deeper down the rabbit hole, you understand. If you're not prepared to defend an idea, you don't hold an idea. If you're not prepared to stand up to people who disagree with you and defend it vigorously, then you've never held it in the first place. If you can't defend it, it's not yours. So a lot of women, when they're challenged openly because they fear societal pressure, they feel being ostracized, they feel being criticized, they don't want to be insecure, they fear these things, and because they're not brave enough to deal with the consequences of holding a controversial idea, no woman's going to jail for her idea. I did. Name a chick who's going to go sit with the cockroaches for 93 days in a Romanian dungeon for her idea on YouTube. Name one. Not a single one. They're pussies. As they should be. They're women. I don't want women to be as brave as me. So they're scared. So if you're a woman and you can be scared out of saying certain things, and you're scared of being criticized for certain things, and you're scared of physical confrontation, and you're scared of being ostracized, do you even believe anything? Do you really believe it? This is a philosophical question.
Yeah.
Do you truly believe it? You may believe it when you say it, but there's a difference between believing something when it's convenient and it's soft and it's easy and believing something when it's hard. They're very different things. I know my beliefs are core to my heart. I know that I believe them because I will suffer for them. If you don't suffer for your idea, do you believe it?
I can even tell you from my current battle, the current battle I'm in, I don't think most people understand or would ever be capable of understanding what a matrix attack does to you. I've had no banks. I'm banned from everything from Skype to Uber to Gmail to Instagram to YouTube. No app on my phone works. I've had no access to money for 2 years. I was in jail for 93 days. I was locked in my house for 5 months. I wasn't allowed to leave my house. Okay, I live in a very nice mansion, but imagine I didn't. How do you make money when you're locked in your house? You're financially decimated. All my cars were taken off me. $900,000 in cash was taken off me. All my gold was taken off me. My diamond watch collection was taken off me. My children were harassed. The mothers of my children were arrested. The crap I've been through is monumental. Most women couldn't handle that. Most men couldn't handle that. And the women near me say the same thing. They say, you're a hero. And I think a woman's job to a man is to power him up with love and let him go. It's like feed the bear and let the bear go fight. You give the bear some food and then you say, go kill. And that's a woman's job. She loves her man and she gives her man power to go out there and face the world. It's not her job to face the world. It's our job to face the world. And she powers us with love. And what your wife said is perfectly correct. She's there to help you and amplify you and power you up and make you as powerful a force as possible in the world, whether it's your vote or anything else. That is a woman's job. And a woman who is good at being a woman will do exactly that. She isn't going to come along and try and oppose her man or be as good at her as her man at anything. My girl will open say to me, I'm not as organized as you, I'm not as smart as you, I'm not as quick as you, I'm not as fast as you, I'm not as brave as you. All the things you do, I don't know how you do it. But I'll try and love you and make you happy so you're good at doing them. And that's why we're such a powerful force, and that's why we work so fantastically together. Which goes into another point earlier that we were saying earlier about women defending ideas. It's kind of interesting because we can apply this to feminism also. Women don't hold ideas without men because women can't defend ideas. Feminism's a male movement because feminists need men as much as they demonize men. Because if you have a open conversation with a feminist and you really disagree with her and you oppose it and she gets offended or upset, she's going to call the police and she's going to call men. She is. Like, if you look at a society where women can't call the police, how many are feminists? None. Feminism is supported by men in masculine capability and masculine threat of violence, like the rest of society. Every idea on the planet, I don't think many people understand this, every idea on the planet is backed by the threat of violence. We say we live in a peaceful society. That's a scam. Any idea any of us hold is backed by the threat of violence.